All right.
Yes,
Well,
his recording started.
yes. Good day, everyone. This is March Women's History Month, and we have a very special guest in the house today for Corey Empowers Mental Wealth Wednesday. We are celebrating mental health and wellness each and every day, and always grateful for the guests that we have to come on and share their stories, their vulnerable moments, their transparency, and ultimately using their stories to help others who may experience from the same things that they have experienced. So today we have, with no further ado, DMC, Darryl McDaniels. We know him as DMC, know him and love him from the group, the iconic group, I might add, Run DMC and Grandmaster Jay. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Great.
This
It
is
is
no
so
problem.
wonderful to have you on today. Truly appreciate you taking time out.
No
So,
problem.
how are things
I
been
love
going?
Mental Wealth
Yes, Mental
Wednesdays.
Wealth Wednesday.
Yep,
A little spin on the wealth word, but we
yep,
want to help people to know how they can live healthy, wealthy lives. And
yep.
so, with you sharing your story, I would love to help others who may have experienced the same things that you have been open about in your experiences,
Yep.
and just welcome you to share your story.
Thank you, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. And so I'm very much attracted to your children's book, Daryl's
Oh,
Dream.
Daryl's Dream. Yep, that's I
Yes.
have
Please tell
that.
us about Daryl's Dream.
All right, that's this book here, and
And you can find that at your local bookstores, Barnes and
yes,
Noble, and other
yep.
books.
Amazon, yeah, any place books are sold. And
Okay.
I actually, it's funny when we're talking about mental health. I wrote the book because I was speaking at a school in Brooklyn, elementary school for two teachers who are now principals in their districts. So big shout out to them. But what had happened was every summer a student was getting shot. So the kids was coming to school, the teachers was no spirit, no, just expecting the worst. You know, they get used to, oh, it's going to be the same thing. And it was like, come speak to the kids. So I went to the elementary school, and at the school, I don't go, hi, kids. I'm the first rapper. I go, yo, what's up, y'all? How you? I speak to them like people. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's the same thing that I'll do with you. And they was just responding and asking questions. How did you feel when you got teased and bullied? How did you feel when your mother said you have to go to sleep early and you can't stay up late because you got to go to school? And I keep it real with them. I was mad and I was disappointed and stuff like that. But I also talked about the importance of education and getting good grades so it could prepare them for whatever it is that they be doing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I explained to them it's not just about getting A's and B's. It's about setting a disciplining yourself. When the bell rings, being on time, obeying the teachers and stuff that is practice. So I left, and the teachers called me back the next year because it was like the students started responding in such a good way. Spoke that year, 2 years in a row. Second year, parents are calling. Did DMC come to the school? Yeah. What did he tell my kid? I don't know this person and this and that. It was just a thing where, you know, even the kids that were performing low, it was like, wow, I got a 75. Next time I'm going to get an 80. It was just stuff like that. So the second year, the teacher was like, you should write a book. And I was like, nah, I don't want to capitalize off of doing good, whatever. And it was like, okay, okay. Third year, I came back, same response. You need to write a book. And I said, okay, I'll write the book, but if y'all write it with me,
Mm.
because they're with the kids every day, they on the front lines. So if I'm able to tell a story about me in third grade with the teachers who are with these kids every day, I think it can have a great impact for them. So part of me writing the book was just to tell the kids two things. You're perfect just the way you are,
Mm.
because of peer pressure and wanting to fit in, you know, my happiness, sadness, being afraid. I was like, I've been in the music business 40 years, kids, and I still get scared before I go on stage. So I wanted them to know all these emotions that they have. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke to them in a way that they could respond to it. But then I said, let me put myself in a scenario where they're at. Because, Corey, our mental health situations are similar to the kids. For me and you, it's our family, our work, our loved ones. If you're married, your children, your office, the supermarket, people on your block. For the kids, it's their households, their backyards, their streets, their classrooms, and their schoolyards. So I had to tell a story in an environment that they can relate to. So whatever they go through in third, fourth, or fifth grade, those mental health issues, those social, emotional learning issues, it'll give them a practice so that they can practice in elementary, middle school, and high school with all the mental health trauma that's going to come at them. But when they get older adults, college, the work, family, they will have developed and used the tools that they already have. Yeah. So it was a teacher just saying, you can do more with your story and your music than you thought of in the first place.
Yes. And with little Darryl, like, we don't want to give the whole story away, right. But what was he dealing with?
He was dealing with the pressure of, let me fit in, let me do what everybody else is doing. When he knows it doesn't feel right, but he did it anyway.
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure. Yeah. The fitting, 99% of the time, these kids join gangs or hang with the wrong crowd at school because they want to feel accepted. Not knowing you could be a geek and a nerd and you could like flowers. You don't have to like hip hop. You can wear Jordans. You don't have to wear Adidas like DMC. I'll still like you. I'm not going to be mad. But they deal with a lot of these pressures, and a lot of times with the mental health side of, we have a habit of telling kids at a young age, don't say that. Don't talk about that. You're too young. But if a young kid comes at you with an emotional feeling they went through, as an adult, you're supposed to, oh, you feel it? Sit down. Let them talk. Let them get it out. Then you'll be able to explain them. Because when you say if the 8-year-old or the 6-year-old kid come with you with something that an adult would say, when you say don't think like that or don't talk like that, you traumatize it because now they think there's something wrong.
Right.
So, and they don't know no better. So if they're 6, 7, and 8, when they get 12, 13, and 14, and it happens again, they will remember what their parents or that adult did to them. So they would think, I'm not supposed to feel like that. Let me smoke, let me drink, let me cut. See, it starts when we're little. No, if the kid comes to you and say, I'm in love with my teacher, or I hate this person, embrace it. Sit down. You got to have conversation. You know what I'm saying? Which therapy is conversation.
Talk therapy. Yeah.
When I first went to therapy, the therapist said, you can be angry, you can be mad. I was like, really? I cried. I let it all out because what you don't let out will destroy you. So you got to be free to say I'm angry, to say I'm sad. And children need to know that. A lot of the people that grow up, the whole issue is guilt and shame. They're not worried about working through this. They're so worried about being considered weirdo, psycho, this and that. Look, if you got to be called weirdo and psycho to cure yourself, then so be it. So what we have to do with mental health is, and what I said, let me start with the kids. If you remove guilt and shame, you remove the pain of the situation. So now, it's going to be painful going through it, examining it, going back to the trauma, facing your fear. But once we get mental health to the point where, like Corey, I am not ashamed to say to you, my tooth hurt, because you'll tell me go to the dentist. When I was in 2nd grade, I'm squinting to see the blackboard. My teacher, Mrs. Peterson, she wasn't when my mother came to pick me up, she said, Mr. McDaniels, I've been watching your son, Darryl. I think he needs glasses. But we get to a point where we're scared to tell. I'm working with you, Corey, for the last 5 years, and I'm worried about how you're going to think about me because my daughter's on meth. So I don't say nothing about it. But if I would have told you that 5 years, we could have probably cured about it. So if we remove the guilt and shame of your feelings and your emotions, like you said when we speaking before we started, when I first got depressed, and I got depressed and I found out that I was adopted. So like everybody else, I thought I was the only adopted person on earth. Yeah. Come to find out, once I told somebody about it, in that same room, somebody else said, me too. And then I was able to sit there with another person, and that was therapeutic and healing, because now I'm not alone. Wow. So I'm thinking it's only me and this other lady who's adopted, not knowing there's a billion of us. So by having dialogue, not being ashamed to say, Corey, I went to the gym and I think I cracked my back. You're going to say, go to the chiropractor. So once we make these mental health issues normalized, because everybody going through a mental health issue is considered psycho, weirdo, or having a problem. But the problem's no different from needing glasses or having a toothache. When something happens to you physically, you go do something about it. When something happens to you spiritually, you go do. When something happens to you mentally or emotionally, it's okay to do something about it. But here's the big problem. I discovered this. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professor. The big problem across all race, creeds, and colors is this, Corey. Harmful, destructive behaviors are celebrated in our community, especially ours. And what I mean by that is, I was drinking a case of Old English 40-ounce malt liquor. I was drinking a case a day. Now, there was
a case. Oh my gosh. Of each are 40 ounces?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was so alcoholic, I put a freezer in my truck so I didn't have to stop at the local grocery store. We had this place in Queens called Pop and Kim. It was run by an Asian lady. She probably made $2 million of English, sold the store and retired, because all the black kids and all the black people would go to Pop and Kim for the ice cold 40s. So there was people in my neighborhood that drank 3 and 4. Whoa, give them more. I'm drinking 12. Nobody said, D, what's wrong? And they saluted me. And then I bring it back to this. When you go out to the club or the party and a person knocking down 20 shots, somebody should have stopped them at number 5 and said, what's wrong? Him or her, yo, what's going on? Growing up in the hood, there's always a guy in the neighborhood bully that's beating everybody up. He gets saluted. Everybody's afraid of him, but nobody never went up to him and didn't hit him back or try to shoot him or stab him. Nobody never went in his face and said, who's beating you? Because in my children's book, Charlie and Denise are actually 2 kids that were teasing me. And Charlie, I lived on 197th. Charlie lived on 196. So he was coming around from his block every day to pick on me for the long, just sneakers, whatever. Like I was a light-skinned kid, you know what I'm saying? I got dark as an 8, but I was hey, white boy, like Charlie was just in it for me, everything, you know. He's the kind of throw the snowball at the back of my head. So one day I got tired about it, and I told my older brother. So this day, Charlie comes around the corner, my older brother standing there with me. Charlie get ready to run. My older brother says no. My brother was going to beat him up. He asked Charlie a simple question. Why? What do you have against my brother? And Charlie couldn't answer it. And my brother was like, come on, man, it's got to be a reason. Without a word, Charlie said, follow me. We left my block 197, went to 196, and all Charlie did was go on his block and point at the kid that was picking on him.
Wow.
So that's why so my brother was like, yo, come here. And he asked that kid, yo, why are you picking on Charlie? This and that same thing, you know, the kid was trying not to, you know, but then the kid realized my brother was just talking to him. He wasn't going to get in trouble. The kid says, follow me. The kid's problem was worse than me and Charlie's. His bully was his own brother in the house. So my brother sat me, Charlie, and the kid picking on in a room. Imagine us, we sitting there. By the time we left the room, we found out we have more in common. Cartoons, comic books, Godzilla, the werewolf, the Boris Karloff from Lon Chaney, 1930s horror pictures. We all wanted the same bikes, and we became friends. But there was an underlying root of why Charlie was doing it, because there was something causing him to do it.
Yeah. It's like the book that Oprah wrote with the doctor. I can't think of his name right now, but it's one of the books listed in my mental wealth guide. And it's What Happened to You. Yeah. And it goes through these different stories of individuals. You know, we may see the conclusion of maybe some criminal activity that they were involved in, but instead of like, why did you do it? It's what happened to you.
Something caused you. And for a lot of us, I mean, especially if it's hereditary, alcoholism and schizophrenia and all of that. But the way our communities are, it's like, yeah, take more liquor, smoke more weed, this and that. You know, we self-medicate. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it blew my mind. I think it was I might have been 22 years old or so. And we was on tour. It was Run DMC, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. This one, Will was rapping before he went to Hollywood. Shout out to Will. EPMD, Eric B. and Rakim and Public Enemy. Imagine that show. Oh my God.
I'm an 80s kid.
So I'm those were the best shows. Yeah. Because you would see all of the ones you loved all at once. But we on the side of the stage and Rakim was on stage. And we all standing there. And then the whole discussion came up about you know, what was good about hip hop. You know, we getting money now, we selling out arenas, we on TV, running them, getting sneaker deals and stuff like that. And then it went to, you know, all the stuff that we had. So, you know, there was liquor and alcohol and weed and coke, you know, and everything. And Chuck D, a Public Enemy, I'll never forget this day. We were standing on the side of the stage and everybody's talking about drinking and smoking, and Chuck with that godlike voice, I think he was 25, he was a young man. Mm. But he said with authority, I never got high a goddamn day in my life. Mm. And now I'm naive. I said, in my brain, you could see me, Corey, go, how come you can rhyme so good? Because when you see the rappers, they drink and they smoke. And so a kid might see that and think he has to do that. Yeah. Let me smoke to be with these people. When Chuck said that, I was like, what? Then it made me realize that's why his music was on this level. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then there was another artist, a friend of mine, that said that. And a lot of people, and I was like, whoa, something's going on here. But I was already too far in to realize, you know, and then when I realized something was going on, I'm DMC. Like you said earlier, I didn't know where to go get help.
Right.
And I'm DMC. So it hasn't been discussed in my community. And one of the things that you want to do, you want to let people know, number one, you're not the only one, and there's resources and places you can go. Without that information, Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, and Johnny Walker became my best friends.
Yeah. Night Train, Thunderbird.
Night Train and Thunderbird, 99 cents.
Man.
The quartz, the old English was $1.35. Night Train, 99 cents. You get 90, and the liquor store take pennies. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And the other guy I wanted to say was Henry Rollins from the punk rock group Black Flag. And he's a guy who dresses like the devil and he makes anti-new this and I mean, he's ferocious. And then I'm sitting with him. He said, hey, I know Chuck very well. I never got high a day in my life even. I was like, what? Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? But in our communities, those things are promoted.
Yeah. So with that, we have a lot of influence from music, the music industry, just media, pop culture in general, and beefs are glamorized. Beef between rappers, you know.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm an 80s kid. I don't necessarily remember like beef back then, but now like the one that's top of mind is Drake and Kendrick Lamar.
Right.
What are your thoughts on beefs between rappers?
No, it's
not going to be positive.
Well, the problem is this, and this is that attraction to that in hip hop goes back to these things being celebrated and accepted in the hood, whether it's street gang or the other thing. But it's even more dangerous than that. Let's think about high school. High school, you got West Side High, you got East Side High. The big game is coming up. Mm-hmm. The teams are going to settle it on the field Sunday. But if West Side students see East Side students in the mall, it gets fixed. There's a lot of emotions there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's happened. That's the same thing with Pac and Big. There was beefs in the 80s and 90s with rapper LL, battled everybody. But it never got to the point where I'm going to hurt you, or it never got to the point where it's going to get personal. We talk about my mother and my wife and my kids. You know what I'm saying? We come from, and what people don't realize is, Drake and Kendrick, Pac and Biggie, we talking about hip hop. This is the music, but hip hop's a culture, a way of life. The people that are beefing hard now, whether it's East Coast, West Coast, Crip, Blood, whatever, got to realize hip hop came out of street gangs that were beefing, who said it's not getting us nowhere. So instead of beefing and shooting and threatening, they did music, rapping, breakdancing, and graffiti. They found creative outlets that would make themselves grow, and collectively they would grow. But because the media doesn't discuss that, like I go to these high schools and kids is like, Flash, Run DMC, LL, and all that. Even Outkast is old school now. But I got to tell these kids, old school is not a time period. It's a consciousness of how you would carry yourself. Not being ashamed to say, can anybody in here play the piano? Nowadays, the kid trying to be down, he ain't going to say that because he's worried about what his boy's going to think. But he's the great. In our generation, I could do it. You know what I'm saying? We have to tell kids, the park's going to be here. Go home and take your piano lessons for an hour, because one day you could be at Carnegie Hall. But people are so ashamed of power that people think is weak or corny, but which is actually the thing that gets you on a private jet. So the whole beef thing is celebrated because of fear. We feared that bully, so he's the most powerful, not knowing he's probably the weakest person in our neighborhood. And all of that's just a front. You know what I'm saying? So the whole beat, the Kendrick and Drake thing was great for hip hop culture. You know what I'm saying? Artistically, but not emotionally and mentally. Because when you go on social media, people are hating like
personal,
right?
Personal attacks,
and they doing that.
Invested in it.
They doing that because something's happening to them. So this is their release. I'm gonna get at somebody else instead of being. People need to develop conscious confidence into taking care of themselves. But they think putting up these fronts, like with the Black community, especially men, everybody fronting. You okay? Yeah, I'm good. But they lying. You know what I'm saying? They could be, I'm schizophrenic, I'm alcoholic, but they I'm good, I'm all right. Like I found out everybody fronting because everybody goes through something.
Yeah, it's great to have organizations like Black Men Heal and others who are, making it, normalizing the conversations among Black men and being okay with sharing their feelings.
And that goes to where being responsible. Black people basically created everything that is something, but none of the corporations that make all the money off our music and our art and our clothing and stuff like that, they don't take it upon themselves to put that information for the people they cater to.
Right.
They rather take out insurance on these rappers just in case the beef might get this guy killed. As opposed to giving them info. You don't have, here's a place you can go, this and that. We can sit down and can have dialogue. Like hip hop basically started at, the Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation was the biggest street gang in New York, the Black Spades. But once they knew, man, the message was a mental health record. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder. It was just telling the truth. Don't push me. You know what I'm saying? And the message was the person telling you, I'm going through but there was no answer until Soul Sonic Force made Planet Rock to the Planet Rock. Don't stop. We know a place where everybody could eat. We don't have to kill each other. We can all, everything will be good.
Right.
So the message was the problem, and the planet rock was the place. And we started to create that in hip hop. Like I tell kids, hip hop didn't just create rappers. Some of these people stopped selling drugs and stopped being in gangs and became managers and producers.
Created different
sound men.
lifestyles.
Yes, out of all of the trauma that they was come to, because they was able to see, you know what? I had kids tell me, yo, I was gangbanging in the 80s and selling drugs, and here come my idol DMC rapping about St. John's University. He said, I had the gold, I had the tangle, I had the Cadillac, but I didn't have a diploma. One kid told me I just went and got a GED just so I could say I had it all. But it did something to his mental.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then
so there are some positive elements to the beefs.
Right, exactly. But it's got to be dialogue. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be dialogue. It's got to be, you know, Kool Moe Dee did this record. They sampled the Pointer Sisters. Yes, we can. I know we can make it. I know that we can. I know darn well that we can work it out. But yes, we can. Do. And Kool Moe Dee, when it was time for him to do his freestyle, he didn't rhyme about being great and having money and all that. He said, once a nobody from the neighborhood took a hop to the top because I knew that I would excel over the rest because I make progress. I don't consider it luck because I'm not blessed. I got my life all together, love the way that I live. Go to school. I know I'm cool and I think positive because it's a right to have fun, lots of pleasures and joy, because it's the brain that separates the men from the boys. Because, you know, remember when we was coming out of middle school and going into high school, you from the 80s, you from the generation, we were mature. We wanted responsibility. You know what I'm saying? We had our fun, but we knew that, man, I want my car, this and that, boom, bang. Now, the problem is now is you got adults being the face of our communities and our entertainment business, and they're acting like immature. When the kid turns on and see all the reality shows, mothers fighting like girls at school, that's telling them it's all right for them to do it. You know what I'm saying? And when they see that they're going to some, that's just telling them confrontation is the way to go.
So we need to redirect them to creativity.
Exactly.
And common ground. And like your brother did with the three of you back when you were younger.
We all in the same places and stuff like that. But once again, all of these false narratives, negativity is a false sense of power. So if you're coming up in a traumatic household, if you're in traumatic relationships, if you're in a traumatic community, when you do look at the media, everything is instant. And the perception is, I need to do that. I need to drink. I need to smoke. That's going to make me feel better. But even me, I realize, okay, I'm feeling a certain way. I like to drink, but when the high wore off, I'm still in that same place.
And you go get more.
And you go get more.
A whole case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, I always tell the rapper guys this: when you sign that deal, don't let the label give you champagne. What do you mean? We're partying. No, but at the end of the year, they're going to give you a check, your money that your record's paying for all that.
Yeah. Yes, it's unfortunate how, I mean, even with the death of Angie Stone, we are now realizing that artists are still, to this day, being taken advantage of in terms of their royalties and credits for the work that they have done.
Yes, we create everything. I mean, Suge Knight had it right, but he just went about it wrong. Suge said, Suge was going to sign Run DMC to Death Row.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And because he was like, and this is crazy. Suge walked up to me and said, yo, man, we looked up to y'all. And I said, because we were good. He said, yeah, no, your music was good. But he said, every time we saw Run DMC and the BC's PE, you all were together. It was competitive, but we all were together. They respected that because, you know, LA had a whole different mentality and stuff like that. But Suge had it right. He said, we make everything, but we don't own it.
Right.
So, but he should have let the suits do the talking instead of going around physically. Because then that's, I told you, and then they take it away from you because you just displaying you don't deserve to have it. But you deserve to have it because you created it.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is, you know, when you're going through, like all of these kids coming from whatever communities, I mean, there's different situations. Like J. Cole was in St. John's University. And the first time I met J. Cole, he didn't run up to me and say, talk about rhymes and hip hop. The first thing with a badge of honor, when he saw DMC, he was like, my mother loved that record. The first thing J. Cole says to me is, D, proudly, yo, D, I went to St. John's too.
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? He didn't come and say, I got a record like that. Was like, see, his way of thinking, his mental was there. You know what I'm saying?
Valuing intelligence and
exactly. No, and not afraid. You know, he come up to me fronting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And those are the things that we need to those are the things that we need to put on the forefront of our struggle. Like, okay, you know, Black people in hip hop or in music, we're very successful. But let's go through some of the greatest people artistically still had problems that could have been addressed. Like, you would never think that Prince would have fell to the, you see his interviews, you would think even the mighty Prince, royal ass Prince, opioids got him with the back pain. Whitney Houston. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about the Juice World. All of these young people, Mac Miller, all these kids died of drugs and like, it's crazy. But even our media, our Black media, don't put those problems up on the front. You know what I'm saying? They'll talk about Kanye had an episode, but then the next week, they'll wait another week till Kanye do something else as opposed to say, Kanye has this. And if he could do that, they don't give us the information. They just want to put us out there. I remember when we was in rehab, Britney Spears was in rehab, but we in rehab, we can't leave the facility. We turn on CNN. CNN didn't follow Britney's story to talk about therapy and rehab and proceed. They following her because she's on Sunset Boulevard shopping. So I'm in there with drug addicts, alcoholics, sex addicts, gambling addicts, OCD, the whole nine, and this and that. So we all in the rec room, when we see Britney Spears on TV, the first thing we all say, why can't we be in that facility? It was letting her leave. But as opposed to saying Britney is whatever her problem was, they just show her.
Yeah, glamorizing.
Yes. Yes, we can't glamorize it. We have to address the issues ourselves.
Yeah. So I think it's great to use the stories to show then the resources, to your point earlier in the conversation of how rap started.
Exactly.
Dramatic events being described in the lyrics, but then the next one with Planet Rock showing a utopia of
a vision. Yeah. We can make this better. Let's we have to become a sound body and mind. And the mind is the mental, sound body and mind. Okay, we're gonna get our physical together, but nothing works. The financial, the relationships, the career don't work if the mental ain't right.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And mostly every story across any genre or any, you know, when you look at Star Wars, when you look at Harry Potter, when you look at the Avengers, when you look at Endgame, you know what I'm saying? Captain America, Tony Stark was alcoholic. Captain America was Peter Parker lost his parents. And I tell kids this, they go, yo, you know something that's right. Batman saw his mother and father murdered in front of him. Trauma. So he becomes that, but he was able to get his mental right where he'll catch the crooks, but he won't kill them. He's not going to, he wants to kill the Joker badly, but he won't fall to that level. So he kind of reversed the struggle. Superman saw his whole world gone. Spider-Man was raised by Aunt May. So, all of these superheroes come from traumatic situations. Like when they're not being a superhero, when they're regular people, all of our heroes was going through. Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And you see that he had to find Yoda. He had to find meditation, to find the Force. Like all of these stuff is showing that everybody struggles.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But here in the Black community, struggle and weakness and confusion and being afraid is looked at upon as a weakness when it's not.
We can celebrate the creative ways to bring it out.
Exactly. And right, because the music is therapy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The music is therapy, but even more deeply, it's something even better happens when you turn the music off. And you start talking about, when you think about when I found out that I was adopted, I thought I was the only adopted person in the world. But when I said it in the room, 100 other people were adopted, or a foster kid, or you know what I'm saying, or when you look at, I love KRS-One's story. He was homeless. He was living in a shelter when he discovered hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Tyler Perry in his car.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So they was there. So if they could do it, I can do it. But a lot of times, the appeal of drinking and smoking makes you cool in those moments. And that's what people are looking for. Acceptance and this and that. Not knowing that you got to get very uncomfortable to find your peace and your strength. You know
I learned at a very early age that drinking was not for me. I think I like 13, 14 years old. I talked about the night train and the Thunderbird. Like I don't even know how I knew that, that those were drinks other than seeing it in my neighborhood.
Of course, it's introduced to you. Exactly.
Absolutely. But I learned, taking a whole, like you said, you drink the 40 ounce, taking a whole bottle to the head, as they say. And it was not a good experience afterwards when I lost control of my physical movements. And I didn't like that. So it wasn't until I became adult that I tried, to drink again, but to drink responsibly. That was totally irresponsible.
Exactly.
The way that I was drinking.
But see, right then and there, salute here, have another one, this and that, all of that stuff.
And underage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. But one rapper that I found to be great in terms of being transparent about his own mental health struggles and conditions are Big Sean. And being able to creatively, express that and to have resources available in the community. I know he used to put on like an annual panel to talk about mental health. And I think it's important for people like you are doing in sharing your story and helping other people to know what resources are available in the community. Right. And with that, I want to know, how did you get your, how did you find the strength to share your story, to be open about it, to be transparent, and especially to write your memoir?
Right. Because when I walk around the earth and people come up to me, but this is funny because my partner Run, remember he had a show called Run's House, which was him and his family. It was a beautiful show. But DMC was never on it. Like, what's going on?
I think I saw you on there one time.
No, I was never on there.
You didn't? I thought you were like a guest or something.
No, they showed footage of.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a cameo.
So long story short, when I got out of rehab and I'm walking around, people are coming up to me doing this, Corey. Why you ain't on Run's House? And I come from hip hop, so I would say maybe a good number. I would say 60% of people in hip hop keep it real. I'm talking about keeping it really, really, meaning this. These people would come up to me, why you ain't on Run's House? And, I could have said, I was on tour, I was away or whatever. And I would say, hip hop, keep it real. Don't be ashamed. I just got out of rehab. I was an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, spiritual wreck who was thinking of killing himself. And I found out I was adopted at age 35. So I would tell a person that, and you can see all the celebrity, superstar, special, incredible, mighty, idolizing stuff run away. And their face would change. And they would say this to me. Two things would happen. They would go, first, they would look around to make sure nobody else, they would check for bugs.
Right.
They would make sure and they would turn to me and I said it like this. Sure, I just found out I was adopted. They whisper, they go, I've never told anybody this, DMC. So now they're going, listen, look at these words, Corey. I've never told anybody this, DMC. So that means you've never told your family, your mother, you've been walking with this for years, months, or forever. And the only reason you're telling me is because I'm DMC, but it's because DMC just told you he was weak, vulnerable. They go, I've never told anybody, DMC, me too. And then they would say, they would leave me going, maybe I could go get help. So then I realized it was important for me to say, yes, I'm the king of rock. There is none higher. Sucker MCs should call me sire. To burn my kingdom, you must choose fire, but I won't stop rocking till I retire. And I'm alcoholic. I got to add that. Let's keep it real.
Yeah.
Because that could identify with so many other people. But the worst one was they would do that and they would go, I've never told anybody this. Not them. They would go, my mother, my father, my sister. And it would go on for hundreds of people. So then I just started seeing my whole culture. And, Run MC, we did the Aerosmith thing.
Yes.
This ain't just hip hop. My heavy metal friends, my punk friends, and my rock and roll friends. You know what I'm saying? When you look at Kurt Cobain committed suicide, Chris Cornell from Audio Slave Soundgarden, Chester from Linkin Park. I get scared of, oh my God, I was there when I was able to. So by me talking about it sets people up, gives them a confidence that maybe I can help myself or help my daughter now. But that's crazy. They go, I've never told anybody this, DMC.
Yeah. So
that means if I wouldn't have said that, and if I'm lucky I'm DMC, because they feel it's cool to tell me because they know I don't know their mother. I can't run and say, your son just told me, they're schizophrenic or anorexic or whatever. So it was a safety zone there. But in that safety zone of me being honest, it made them say, you know what? They probably left me in. Now they just need to know where to go.
Where to go. Yes. Mental illness does not discriminate. I call it a 365 global issue that we should not be ashamed to address.
Oh, for sure.
And
I had to go to England and talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
I went to England for to do a comic book in-store appearance. The line's waiting for me because they saw me talking about in my interviews. They wanted their book signed, but they also wanted to tell me, yo, DMC, me, you helped me. Just in that, my mother was going through stuff, so I went with her. It's giving people confidence because they know somebody. You know what? It's cool for me to say, yo, I'll go with you until you don't need me to go no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, your story can help to open up eyes, open up minds to seek help, or letting them know how they can help someone else.
Exactly. Yeah. And there are places that you can go.
So tell us about your memoir. I mean, the title is very
10 ways not to commit suicide.
Yes.
Because you don't have to do it. I mean, it just basically came about because once again, I didn't want to write the book, but people was like, Dean, we've seen you doing interviews. You should do a book because you can reach so many more people. And it was cool too, because even my peers in the music business, you didn't tell me this. I said, I wrote it so you can read it. Because I want people to read everybody that says they read my book, but the first opening of it, they don't see me going through, they say that's them. So I wanted to write it in a way where this is what I'm feeling, with, so they can go, me too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like when I first went in rehab, the doctors, when you first go into rehab, on the blackboard, they have 10 characteristics of an addictive personality.
Mm.
So I walk into rehab and I look at him and I go, I say out loud, I'm all of them. And then all the doctors and stuff clapped. And I was like, what are y'all doing? They said, you're on your way to healing.
Admitting, acknowledging is like the first step. Yeah.
Right. So when people read my book, they say, you made me acknowledge that was me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why am I drinking all this Hennessy in the first place? You know, it makes some people say that, like, I don't need this. Like, what am I doing? And then they say when they went to therapy, whatever was available, they found free programs. Because a lot of people say, yo, DMC, what if I ain't got money? There's free programs right in front of you. You know, I say that to the college kids.
Right. And there's resources on campus. You know, one of the reasons why I created my go-to mental health guide was to just be a first step for anybody who just doesn't know anything and needs to know just one thing. But having those free resources like the National Alliance on Mental Health.
Yep. I worked with them. Exactly.
And they have, you know, for the family also, because a lot of people need support. And so
exactly.
Family programs to help.
Not just you going through it, but everybody around you is affected in some way. Oh, for sure. But, you know, the book is just me having a way to get the story so it's available to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had kids buy it for the parents. And I've had parents buy it for the kids.
It can help people to start talking. You know, maybe a child, like it just sparked this in me, but a child who would give that to their parent, not necessarily because they're concerned about their parent dying by suicide, but maybe because they have the thoughts.
Yes.
And that's their way
they do that.
Introducing that conversation.
What you give me that for? Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
It's important because a lot of people are scared to talk about suicide and thinking that they're giving ideas to their child or to someone else, but it's important to talk about it.
Exactly. You can't be ashamed of your feelings.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because my whole thing is, because there was that show 10 Ways.
Mm.
It was on, I think it was on Netflix or something.
Like 10 Ways to Die?
Yeah. And it showed the situations, but it didn't give her out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It showed all this, sincere and the sadness, but no, give that out. So my book gives that out.
We ultimately need the resources. Like, don't leave us hanging.
Right, exactly, right. Because then, you self-medicate.
Well, you've mentioned a few times during this interview about being adopted. So what was or is the out? I've heard about this Felix organization.
Right. When I met my fellow adoptee, Sheila Jaffe, she's a casting director in Hollywood. She cast Sopranos, Entourage, Mark Wahlberg, Josh. She's a big casting director. She was adopted too. She found out she was adopted when she was 14.
Mm-hmm.
When the neighborhood bully girl was going to beat her. She grew up in the Bronx. It was a rite of passage for Sally, the bully girl, to beat your butt. Everybody used to. So Sheila said this day, Sally really wanted to hurt her. So Sally says to Sheila, before I kick your butt, I just want to let you know your parents don't love you because you're adopted. Because it was a secret. Yeah. And Sheila was like, she just put her dukes down and ran home.
Yeah.
And she ran in the house. Mommy, Sally, the bully girl, just said I'm adopted. Is it true? She said her mother was washing the dishes. When her mother heard it, she dropped the dishes. So it opened up a whole can of worms. So me and Sheila said, we got to do something to show the kids in foster care who might not get adopted that they're all right. But their main emotion is, I'm just a foster kid. I'm not worth nothing, this and that. I'm just another statistic. So we said, we're going to make a camp, a summer camp, where we could get a bunch of foster kids together. So then they'll realize, I'm not alone. There's other kids like me, but then they all can see out of each other that they're normal kids. They're just like the kids who have full families and parents. But while they're there, for the kids go to camp for a week, recreation, swimming, all the camp stuff. But while they're there, we ask them, you're 6 to 16 is their ages. While you're there, no matter what it is, if you're 5, what do you want to be? I want to be a dancer. So the whole week they'll get dance lessons. I want to be a photographer. No matter the age, the whole week they'll get photography lessons. I want to be whatever it is that you want to be. That whole week they will get lessons to be that.
That's beautiful.
Which is showing them your situation doesn't define who you are.
Absolutely.
Because most of them, a lot of the kids, it's the older adolescents when they deal with the cutting and the completely shutting down, when they get angry and when something to go their ways. So those are the kids most likely to hurt themselves, hurt others, or become addictive, in some shape or form to do away with those emotions and feelings. Because a lot of them, all the kids are amazing. They ask you, how did you feel? They want to know, how did you feel when you got left in the phone booth? You got to be honest. I was scared. I thought I wasn't worth nothing. When they hear that, they go, okay. But that means it doesn't last. Like you can change, yes. So we said we started the Felix. Originally, we wanted to do the Felix facilities, but it's a lot of legal and paperwork to do that. So Michael Lang, rest in peace. Michael Lang is the guy who created Woodstock. So he was a good friend of Sheila's. We said, if anybody can help us organize something for the kids, it's Michael Lang, because he did Woodstock. So we went to Michael and he said, the facilities is a great idea, but you just take smaller steps to get there. So he said, why don't you just do a sleepaway camp? You get the kids out the neighborhood, because most of these kids in the summer, they see concrete the whole summer and then they're back in school. So get them out there, get them in nature, and then while they're there, find out what it is that they want to be. Like a lot of the kids now, when they're 16 and 17, one of the kids said, I want to be a journalist. So we got them an internship at CBS. So they go up, they see the cameras, so it's about giving them opportunities to see there's so much more, and anything is possible while you're going through whatever it is that you're going through.
Right. It doesn't have to define you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we started the Felix organization, which is, and when they get up there in camp, it's crazy. The kids love meditation and yoga.
Some nice mental health elements.
It's peaceful for them, right?
Yes.
Because when they go back to the Bronx and Brooklyn, Manhattan, some of their households is just wild.
Right.
And they can we do the yoga thing tomorrow too? They love that. And it gives them a focus when they go back. And all of the kids that have come to the camp, this is next year will be our 20th year. All of the kids that have been through our camp all make it to college.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. And here's one other crazy too. A lot of them, they'll make it for physics, they'll make it for business, they'll make it for all of these other fields. But I would say about 70% of the kids that do get to school, they change their majors for 3 things: lawyers, judges, and social workers. And we asked them, why you do that? Because I want to go back and be overseeing the kids that are going to go through the foster system like me.
Wow.
Like they can go be businessmen, and they all change. Lawyers, judges, they said they want to be the judges over the cases. Because remember, they have been in foster care since their baby. Their whole life was that courtroom.
Yeah. And
they go through stuff, seeing families get split. They change to judges, lawyers, and social workers. We go, why'd you change from, being the, science and all that? Because I want to go back and oversee all the kids that's going to come through so they can be like me.
And have a great experience with
exactly.
it. To be a positive influence in those children's lives.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we very seldom get calls of the kids, because the kids go to the camp, but we stay involved with the families. Like you said, it's not just the kid that's traumatized. The families are going through something too. So it's very seldom that we get a call in the summer, we got an issue with such and such. Because you can be angry, mad. Yours, it's your truth. It's your feelings. It's your emotions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have every right to be
Learning
mad.
to
Your
embrace
father,
them, manage
yeah,
them, and live, a more
yeah.
productive
It's like
life.
your father didn't leave because you're the problem. Your father got problems.
Mm-hmm.
And your father's on drugs or jail, whatever, your mother, whatever. So we get to the point we go, okay, this is not me. I'm okay. And I can be okay.
Wow.
So yeah, it's about letting them see their truth and stuff like that. So we said let's do the Felix organization so we can have some more DMCs and Sheilas running around the world. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's a tremendous goal.
Yeah,
I
it's
really
all about giving them opportunities and stuff like that.
absolutely. And just with foster care, I mean, there are a lot of children that live in foster care,
Yeah,
move a lot of times. And
yeah.
I've
Imagine what they
known
do
for
to you.
sharing that part of my story, and that I moved like at least 21 times before I graduated from high school. And I
Wow.
tell people that, I was never legally in the foster care system. I was in community care because a lot of
Oh,
people took me in when they
wow.
surely didn't have to. They didn't receive like child support or anything like
Nothing.
that, but they
Wow.
stepped in when, my parents weren't able to be a part of my life. But one household, my final household, was
Uh-huh.
my paternal grandmother.
Right.
And I must say that was my introduction to Run DMC, because
Really.
my cousin, shout out to my cousin Michael Smith, he's a
Uh-huh.
big fan of Run
Wow.
DMC, and he still wears Adidas to today.
Wow.
But
Wow.
that was my introduction to Run DMC when,
Uh-huh.
because we lived in the same household with my
Right.
grandmother. And I just truly
Wow.
appreciate following your career, and then, learning about your memoir. And
Yeah.
now that mental health is my niche, and wanting to increase the awareness of mental health and the resources that are available. I
Right.
just truly appreciate the opportunity to have you on today,
Well,
and
thank
learning
you.
more about your books, Darryl's Dream, as well as
Yeah.
10 Ways not
Not to commit
not
suicide.
to
Because you don't
commit
have to do it.
suicide.
It's all about dialogue. Shows
Yeah.
like this, songs, plays. We got to use the arts to show people it's okay.
Yeah, and to use it for ourselves, right?
Yes,
Like
exactly.
you have used it for yourself.
Yep,
A lot of
100%.
people have had the opportunity to do that, like Charlie Pride.
Yeah.
In my quest to research Black people who have found a creative way, a creative outlet for any mental health condition, I learned about Charlie Pride, and that he sung about some of the things that he experienced. Or you may
Yeah.
have those who have written about it, like
Yeah, yeah.
Van Zant or Janet Jackson. She
Yeah,
wrote
yeah.
about her depression. So
Yeah.
it not only helps you as the person who's experiencing it, but the people who are reading about your story.
Exactly.
So what I would just like you to share with us before we close, like,
Mhm.
what would you say your top 3 resources or things that people should look into in helping them to know more about mental health, and what could help them or their families or their communities to be able to embrace mental wealth?
Well, the first thing that I could say is, let me just say, I also I partnered with a company out of Boston called WELLth. It was a guy that he would make, he would use technology to assist college students, whether it was academic studies, vocation. He created this tech information system. And then when he saw what was going on with mental health and stuff like that, he was like, you know what? I could use this to address the mental health issue. So he created an app for college students that gives them instant connection to a mental health therapist 24 hours a day. Because
That
the
is
kids
great.
wouldn't know. Yeah, because the thing is, there's a lot of stuff online. If you're going through something, just punch in "I need help." There are free stuff up there online that will let you know you can go here. And for me, I didn't even know that. You're thinking, man, you got to have money and you got to go through all of this. No, you can, in your community, your local church, in your school.
Yes.
Especially for the high school kids who are going through something and stuff like that. Go talk to the guidance counselor. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the resources are available. The information is out there, free of charge for people. But the thing that allowed me to find out the multitude of organizations that exist, every time I talk about it, I meet somebody from an organization or program who says, we've been in the Bronx forever. We've been in Queens forever. I've been doing this forever. I got contacts to social work. So if you're going through something, this is powerful. Go tell someone.
Yes. Talk to somebody.
Talk to somebody. Tell somebody. It's like we had this one little kid that spoke at this school a couple of years ago, and I'm telling myself I was there to talk about hip hop. It was career day. Talked about hip hop, but then I always talk about there's always going to be adversity. There's always going to be company. People are always going to tell you no. I talked about how we got turned down for 50 record deals, and it wasn't until 51 when we got signed. And then I tell the kids, I was 35 years old when I got adopted, and you can see some of the faces in the kids change. So when it was time for Q&A, this one kid kept asking me, how did you feel when you found out was adopted? What do you think of it? All these questions. So at the end, the teacher brought them to me, and it was like, I think the kid was Carlton or Charlie, something like that. Charlie was adopted. So his whole problem was he was walking through school doing this because he felt different.
Yeah.
And even if people didn't know, he thought everybody knew. And he asked me, he said, DMC, what do you do on those days when you get really, really sad? And he's like, sometimes I just feel like giving up. I said, is there anybody in this school that even at your lowest point of sadness, when you think of this person, they bring a smile, even if it don't come to your face, to your spirit? And he says, the librarian. I said, here's what you do. Anytime that you're feeling sad or you feel like there's an episode or something coming on, ask the teacher, could you go speak to the librarian? So this was like a 5th grader. So the principal was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And he was like, and the principal was like, yeah, you could do that. He was like, so right then and there, he went in. Because now, if you just had that moment where where he would act out, he knows he can say. So he goes to the librarian when it happens, right? I go back to school and the teacher says, "See, I got to tell you what happened." So he says, "Mr. DMC said I could go talk to Mrs. Brown." I forgot the librarian. So he goes to Miss Brown and he says, "What I told you." People say to me, "Miss Brown, I'm going to something. I never told anybody this, but I'm adopted and this and that." And Miss Brown goes, "Oh my God, Charlie, this is crazy." Miss Brown goes, "Charlie, me too. I'm adopted." Oh. She had never told her staff that she was adopted.
Wow.
So once Charlie heard that, he's coming to school like this every day now. Why? Because he's adopted, but he knows the lady in the library. He ain't alone. So it was normalized. You know what I'm saying? So I was telling the kids, anytime you go, but you got to tell the adults that too.
Right.
I did it. American Express offices in Manhattan. They did a big mental health day. So I came and it was all about my book. American Express brought like 300 books and made their whole staff come into the meeting room and sit there. I spoke and then I did Q&A. Took pictures, signed Adidas. Now the American Express offices in New York City, they have a whole floor that's a medical facility. And it's funny. You can't call out sick. You got to come in.
Right.
We have a hospital.
That's the thing. Yes.
That's to keep the workers in. But they always had this mental health part to it. Nobody used it.
Oh, wow.
The next day after I spoke, 330 of the employees in that 100-story building went and asked for help.
It helps to reduce the stigma associated with it. Yes.
Yep. And everything from alcoholism to insomnia to OCD, like all these mental health issues.
It helps employers to invest in their employees.
Yeah. And it
they
was like, D,
even more from
it was like, D, if you would have never came, we would have never known that. They walk through the hallways all day. Wow. How you doing today? I'm doing fine, knowing they're going through something.
Absolutely.
So that's what it's about. The help is available to everybody.
Well, in closing, please share with us how you maintain your wellness.
Oh, okay. First of all, I realized that I don't need nothing outside of me
Mm.
to make me feel the way that I felt when I was drinking those 40s. Matter of fact, when I went to therapy, I was diagnosed with suppressed emotions.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? It was, the first question they asked me was when I got into therapy, Darryl, any point of your career did Run, Jay, or the management or label ever do anything to make you angry? And I lied. I said, nope. My therapist looked at me, he said, you're a goddamn MIFing liar. And when he said that, yeah, man, 1985, 86, I remembered every instance. And it was like confrontation is healthy, agreements is healthy. But instead of me speaking up, I would just go drink and not deal with it. They
Yeah.
said, never do that anymore. So now I realize I don't need nothing outside of me to make me feel. And the whole thing, my therapist said, D, don't you know your music? You didn't know you was adopted, but you had something that helped you navigate those emotions at any different times. That's why you was a good student. You was a good kid. I was like, what are you talking about? Dr. Wendy Freud, Sigmund Freud.
Oh.
Sigmund Freud is the guy that the psychologist.
Psychologist.
Yes, my doctor was Wendy Freud.
Okay.
So she noticed something about me. She said, you was letting out, your creativity was an outlet for you. But then she said, don't you know, in the midst of all of that, you're alcoholic, you're adopted, you're a foster kid. You use two powerful words that help define you, even though you wasn't aware of your situation. It might have been subconsciously in there. That's why you was drinking and all. I said, what are you talking about? She said, most of your songs start with those two powerful God words. And I was like, what you talking about? I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am DMC, in the place to be. I go to St. John. I am the king of rock. I am the son of Byford. I am the microphone master. I am from. I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. So she said, then you started drinking, and all those I ams, you pushed them, you washed them right out the door. You know what I'm saying?
That's powerful.
I was like, wow. And she explained to me that being adopted and foster kid does have an effect on your mental.
Yeah.
You know, even though I had the greatest parents, I'm with my mother for 9 months. When I was giving up, I knew something was weird. You know, in the midst of it, that's why there was always this question mark. There's got to be something more to life than being DMC. And that empty part of me was the fact that I was adopted, but I didn't know about it. And then she said, you're one of the lucky ones. And I said, what are you talking about? Because most adoptive people, a lot of them turn into serial killers. I was like,
oh my.
Yeah, when you think about people from traumatic situations, whether it was homelessness, I grew up with my mother, no father, no mother. Something happens to you that where you start developing these defense mechanisms, which is some of them are helpful in navigating this thing called life, but a lot of them lead to alcoholism, self-abuse, abuse of others, cutting, and all of that stuff. And I was like, wow.
Adverse childhood experiences. It's a part of that.
Yep. So for me now, it's knowing creativity or using the mind in a positive way is very therapeutic to help you deal with anger, confusion, or whatever it is that's attacking you. You know, that's a form of meditation too. A friend of mine, Jesse Itzler, he's the guy that created Zico Water. He started NetJets and all of that. He's the type of guy that he'll go sleep with monks. So there's a funny story. He went to the monastery to sleep with monks. So this is funny. He cuts all his hair off. And he gets to the monastery where the monks are, and they all got beards and they're scraggly. Because, you know, when you see them, they coming out in their uniform like a soldier. But we don't see the Navy SEALs when they're sleeping in the forests of Louisiana in the mud. We see them all clean and stuff like that. So he gets to the monastery and he sees all the monks, and, you know, they're doing their daily tasks, praying and all that. And when he walks in there, they laugh at him. And he's like, what are you laughing at? Because you cut your hair. You're going off of other people's perception. You ain't seeing the whole story. So one of his first tasks was to wash all the dishes of all the monks in the monastery. This is like 500 dishes.
Oh.
So he gets to number 50 and he's, how do you do this? There's no way I'm going to wash 1,000 dishes. He said, you're not washing 1,000 dishes. He said, it's easy for us because you're washing one. He's going 1, 2, 3, 4. You ain't washing 1,000. You're washing one dish at a time. One moment. And he said, yo, they showed him so much how your mind
mindful,
being mindful of
and in the moment.
And in the moment. That's why those people that do those high risk things, they are just in the moment. They're not falling at 3,000 miles per hour. They're floating through the air. So there's a way to utilize baking. And I'm saying, oh, okay, I'm all sure. Go get a book and bake a cake.
That's what I'm into right now.
Yeah, you know, like in the 4 hours that you could stress out and this and that, you could have baked the cake.
I made banana bread.
That's good. Yeah. Was it good?
It was. It was very good.
You surprised yourself. Yeah. So for me, it's all about creating. And the cool thing for me too was before the hip hop, before me making music, I had my comic books to escape to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I appreciate you creating awareness about that. Like a lot of people don't think that Black people are into cosplay.
Oh, huge time.
And stuff.
Huge.
Yeah. And my son, my youngest son is really into cosplay. And I told him about it. If you go to another one of these conventions, you got to look.
You got to come in here. This is my book right here.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about
Darryl makes comics. I started a comic book company 10 years ago. I actually went for a music meeting, and the guy that I met with, Riggs Morales, he was up at Warner Brothers, Warner Electric. He's an executive up there because he was Eminem's A&R for Shady Records during the rise of that empire. But I go to meet him about music, and he finds out that I love comic books. We didn't even speak about music. We sat there for 3 hours and talked about comic books. Wow. And then he says, yo, D, you should do a comic. And I was like, I don't want to do it. But he said, with the comic book, you can do the same thing with your music. And I'm like, what? Inspire, motivate, and educate while you entertain. Yeah. So in the comic book, we deal with mental health issues, political issues, and all of that. It's a way to have dialogue and discussion to where people can see themselves and see solutions to their problem. Because a lot of people don't know, Stan Lee created the X-Men to deal with racism. You know what I'm saying?
I just watched a little YouTube clip about that.
Yeah. And if you look at Stan Lee, all the comic books dealt with a lot of issues. That's why a lot of those geeky, nerdy kids can understand, you know, oppression and all of that because it was told in the story. So one of my escapes, which helped me navigate getting teased and bullied as a kid, because when you look at the superheroes, they're all clumsy and they're awkward and they're trying to figure it out, but they succeed and they still find a purpose in their life. Yeah. So having those books there, you know, if I didn't see myself in Hollis growing up, I saw it in Peter Parker, who is from Queens. And that's why Stan Lee was brilliant, because he put the superheroes really in New York. Like Gotham and Metropolis is fictional, which is cool. They're trying to, Stan Lee said, no, I'll put the superheroes in there. I learned about Hell's Kitchen, the Lower East Side, Harlem, all in the comic books. Like it blew my mind that Steve Rogers, Captain America, has a Black friend called the Falcon. You know, Stan Lee was allowing us to see ourselves even way back then. So now, like you said, we're starting to see ourselves more in pop culture. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So all of the, a great African person told me the reason why African passed on the stories, passed
world,
because the stories heal. The story, if you destroy the stories, you destroy the nation. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I guess 10 ways not to commit suicide is just a story. where you can see yourself in those situations. And it'll give you the courage and confidence to do what the ancestors have done.
Yes.
You know?
And we keep sharing that generation after generation,
Yeah.
turning the generational trauma into generational healing.
Yeah, exactly.
Thriving.
And like we're doing now, not being afraid to talk about it.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on and joining Corey Empowers for the Mental Wealth Wednesday. I know and I feel that your story is so powerful, and I want to do my best to amplify not only your story, but the stories of others, ultimately to increase awareness, not only about mental health and wellness, but the resources we got.
For sure. Right. There is a place like Soul Sonic Force said on Planet Rock. We know a place.
Right.
There's a place where you can be well. Everybody, you can be successful. You can live a happy life no matter what you're going through.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So we're going to share some of the resources when we post this video. And please check out DMC, Darryl McDaniels, and all the different things that he has going on.
Darryl makes comics.
Okay, go ahead.
Darryl makes comics. Darryl makes cookies. I have a cookie.
Oh, yes. I had them at the airport. So delicious.
Yeah, Darryl makes cookies. You have Darryl's Dream.
Mm-hmm.
You could get it at any place books are sold, and you can get 10 ways not to commit suicide. Anywhere books are sold. And for more information about the Camp Felix, you can go to felixorganization.org.
Any new music coming out?
Yes, new song at the end of probably end of March, beginning of April. New song. It's me, Sebastian Bach from Skid Row on vocals, Travis Barker on drums, Mick Mars from Motley Crue on guitar, and Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses on bass.
Okay.
We did a remix of Ram Jam's a group from the 80s. We did Ram Jam's Oh Black Betty, Bam-a-Lama, Oh Black Betty, which is, by the way, for history, it's a 1930s blues song by the black blues artist Lead Belly.
Okay.
So Lead Belly did a version of it. Ram Jam redid his version in the 80s. Now we took Lead Belly and Ram Jam's version and we did it over. So that's coming this spring.
All right, this spring.
Yes.
And we have to just give a little plug about the documentary.
Randy on Peacock.
Kings of Queens.
On Peacock, 3-episode documentary. Really gets into me, Run and Jay, coming together to do what we did.
Yes, it is a fabulous documentary. I loved it. Watched it all in one sitting. I encourage people to watch that. And
people love it too because I talk about the comic books in it.
Yes.
All the people, he loves comic books. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I told my son about you.
Yeah.
So he can check it out.
Yeah.
So we have music, we have books, cookies. Please check out all that DMC is doing and know that he is doing his best to also amplify mental wellness in our communities. So please like and share and do your best to live your best in this state and time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. This was incredible. I'll be back.
Yes. All right. So I ended the recording.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Make sure it recorded. That's real funny.
Oh, no, it did. It did.
Oh, you can see. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it did.